Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is a company run by Joe Ross. Joe Ross is a former Army fullback, former Army assistant coach, former Army officer, a guest on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Check out our Black Knight Nation YouTube channel. We have archived interviews, one with Joe Ross. Most recently, we had Brian Riley, Army hockey coach, on there. We also had Sandon McCoy, former Army fullback, and we had Drew Thatcher, uh, our new Army offensive coordinator. We're back. Steve and Sal are back on the Black Knight Nation podcast. It's been a while, but I just felt with signing day, let's talk some signing day. Let's talk some Army football here. Late night podcast doesn't get any better. Steve, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Sal. Sorry, I've been working the new job a little bit. I haven't been able to link up with you, but glad to be back. Glad to be talking Army football. A lot to catch up on, and it's a great college football, high school football day, just with all the kids around the country signing their letters of intent on which colleges they're going to. So a lot of good stuff, and look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, Army's recruiting class, Steve. Now, when you were at Army, right? What do you say your recruiting class was? Was it 50, 60, 70? How big was your recruiting class, would you say?
Like how many kids, or what was our rank in the nation?
How many players? How many players? How many recruits did you have? How many recruits?
I'd say by the time, I think, after my sophomore year, when my name finally got out there and they started involving me in the recruiting process a little more, as far as like, hey, tell this guy what a day in life of the cadet is, share this guy, around posts or around the area, whatever. I would say on any given weekend, we would have 15 to 20 players show up. Okay. And that was every weekend from after the season till, I wouldn't say spring ball, but it went past. I mean, there was kids that still came up after, because we don't, letter of intent day is not really a big thing at Army. It's that we don't really fall into that category. Because of the academy. Like I didn't sign on signing day. I didn't sign with Army until like March, when they finalized. I was going to the prep school. I felt like that was the best option for me at that time. But yeah, no, I would say, 15 players a weekend for 6 weeks. So you're talking anywhere from, 75, 90 guys that are coming to see the campus in a given, recruiting off season.
Yeah, cycle. So what I was getting at is the number of commits in the class of 2023 for Army right now, by my total, is 106. 106 commits. That is, yeah. I mean, it is. That's a lot. And here's my theory on that, right? Yeah, you got to split some up. Some of them are going. You got to build a prep school team, right? You have about 50 players on the prep school team, right? Then you got your direct admits, and then you got this new offense, right? And you got to bring in. This new offense is a shotgun offense with one back and 4 receivers, maybe 3 receivers in the tight end. You got to recruit more receivers for this offense, right? You got to recruit different, maybe a little bit different athletes for this offense, maybe. And maybe that's the reason why for, the class being a little bit bigger. That's my theory. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see what kind of slot backs have hands. That understand, have the college football IQ and have played at that level. You're going to see some possible position changes. There could see some defensive backs, safeties move to those positions. I mean, there's going to be, I don't know how Coach Ellerson likes to run, Coach Monken likes to run it, but I know Coach Ellerson, when I played, it was like new offense, new defense. We came in the locker room first day of spring ball, and it was like players' names were all over the place. We had linebackers at linemen at fullbacks. It was like everyone was like, yeah. Oh, Oh, and I was originally a whip, which the way it lines up was like a defensive lineman, 1 yard off the ball. And I was like, I'm not playing D line. What is this? So there's a little bit of, buy-in that goes into that, right? Trust in the system, trust in Coach Monken. But I think there'll be some player shifts in spring ball. They'll see how that goes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You got to start, there's no point of waiting. Like, you got to start recruiting for this offense now. No surprise that it's 100 plus. You like to see, like you said, 50 guy, half of that's going to prep school. Half of the 50 players that are left that are going direct. They'll weed out through camp or whatever happens, JV. So, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, Beast Bear, maybe some, they realize like, hey, this was my way in, but we have players every year that this was my way into the academy. That's what they really wanted to do. And then they go play sprint or go play rugby or go play a different sport. So, guys start to realize the commitment of Army football, and it becomes daunting, especially as freshmen, because it's like, it's culture, it's school, it's a huge shock. So definitely excited with this new offense. I'm interested to see how it plays out. I was kind of envisioning kind of like the Air Force triple option package, how that looks. But it's going to be that, when I first started, and then I started looking at where this coach came from and how he ran, and I was like, man, this is going to be interesting, especially, when you talk about Coach Monken's mentality of what kind of football program we've been. It didn't really seem like that relationship matched up with personality wise, but definitely interested to see how it works out.
Definitely something different, right? Definitely something that's going to be multiple. I think definitely something that it's going to be not easy to prepare for, because you really don't know where you're going to get at times. Yeah, you're going to go from the gun, but we'll see how things line up. I'm told no fullbacks in this offense. Now, that doesn't mean there's not a fullback on the roster that you can't have in goal line situation, short yardage situations. But I'm told there's no fullbacks coach anymore, Steve. There's nobody coaching fullbacks anymore, as to my knowledge. It's just a running backs coach. You coach running backs, and the receivers coach, Aaron Smith. He's gonna have a lot of guys in his room now. He's gonna have a pretty full room with this offense, no doubt. It's gonna be fun to watch. I think we'll see how spring goes. I'm not sure how open practices are gonna be, if they're gonna let people in. I would assume they're gonna close practices and just install the offense and get the guys to learn. And it'll be fun. I look at who they're recruiting. Right, they have a slot receiver that they recently got a commitment from, Dom Esposito out of Arizona. He had 97 catches his senior year. 97 catches. That was like 7th in Arizona history, in the state of Arizona. So they're recruiting different guys. They're recruiting guys that are more catch first and run guys, maybe, and we'll see how it goes. But then you still had a guy. I want to talk about this. Today they had two guys that were originally committed to Air Force that have flipped to Army. And today one of them was Kasan Hooks. Kasan Hooks is a Georgia safety. He was committed to Air Force. And he told me, we were messaging each other today. I wrote a story. You could check out his story on BlackKnightNation.com. He was telling me before he took a trip to Army, he was 100% committed to Air Force. Then he took the trip to Army, and it changed his mind. The coaches changed his mind. The players, the brotherhood changed his mind. And today he had two hats at his press conference. He had an Air Force hat and he had an Army hat. And he signed his certificate of commitment. You could tell it was like a little Army shield on it, so to speak. And he was wearing black. Kasan was wearing black. So you figured he's probably going with the Black Knights, maybe. Puts on the Go Army Black Knights hat, So, and the guy I wanted to talk about too, last week I wrote about Timmy Kloska. He was a Air Force commit, 6'2", 220-pound full running back out of Michigan State Player of the Year. This guy flipped from Air Force to Army. So Army, we talk about the 106, right? But I was talking to a recruit last night, I believe, and he was telling me that just going down the list of players that I wrote about him today, Wesley Shaw. He's at from Jesuit, Florida, offensive lineman. He's like, I'm looking at this recruiting class. I'm looking at their credentials. It's like it's gonna be crazy at Army. And like you say, you gotta some of them will go to prep, some of them will go to direct. You gotta retain these guys. But man, good to see some flips going on here, and you know, there's a lot of good stuff going on. I can go on and on about this recruiting class, Steve. I don't know if I don't know if you want to hear everything about these guys, but I
No,
got a
it's
lot of nuggets here.
no, it's also, it's a very, we always talk about in the military how transition is it's the most, where you have the most friction is times of transition, right? And here we are with the time of transition, new football year coming up, spring ball coming up. There's obviously guys, we're not like other colleges where you could have, December grads in high school, and they could come up for spring semester and play spring ball. So it's going to be that recruiting class is going to be drinking through a fire hose, especially the, prep schoolers, commits, direct commits. Everyone's going to be drinking through a fire hose. And there's not going to be a lot of experience on the offensive side. Now, the defensive side is always easier to pick up, less, I don't want to say less complex, but defense always seems to fit their assignments up more efficiently and quicker than the offense does. And, there's not going to be a lot of experience, you'll get a mentorship, right, out of the seniors and juniors and sophomores for those freshmen, but there's going to, they're going to be learning a lot of stuff for the second time, but essentially for the first time, because they're not going to be able to install the whole offense during spring ball. Especially,
right?
And then once Piad's over and the season starts, you're game planning. So you are, making game plans to that opponent versus just general install of offense. So it's always impressive when you see, freshmen. And, I know we had Pat Mealy do it. Pat Mealy had a really good freshman running back year for Army out of our class. So it's really impressive when you see, freshmen, especially at the academy, pick up the offense, stay academically eligible, stay out of trouble, and make such an impact within the first 6 months of being there. So it'll be interesting. I think the other key takeaway is kind of like what you brought up is, there's identity, right? There's got to be an identity, a personality, figured out by the senior class, these juniors now, but the will be seniors during the spring ball. Like, who are we going to be on the offensive side of ball? Army football will be Army football, but what's our identity? And who are those informal leaders, and who are our accountability officers, sort of speak. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to kind of hopefully make it up there during spring ball and hopefully, be around the team. It's been a while since I've been around the team, and I look forward to trying to make a trip out there this spring.
We got to get you to be the honorary captain of Black and Gold game. You've done that before, right? Or no?
No, never done it.
Man, you got to be an honorary captain of the Black and Gold game. I don't know if they did that last year. I'm not sure they did. Maybe, I don't know. They might have. Just a couple more things about recruiting real quick. I want to give, today was a big day for the Bartosh family. Briggs Bartosh. He was quarterback, running back out of Missouri. He had offers from Air Force. He had offers from, I believe, Kansas offered him. Miami of Florida offered him, and he's going to join his brother, Braden at West Point. His brother is I believe he's a freshman offensive lineman. So it's going to be a little bit of a family affair there. With he's going to join his brother. It was great to see that because he took visits all over the place. I believe he even visited a MAC school too. So to have Briggs join the class today was pretty key for Army. And also Bryson Jose is a kicker out of Georgia. and his brother Brooks was a punter at Army 2 years ago, and he was the holder for Army, the main holder for Army too. He was the second string punter behind Zach Harding, and he was the holder for the kicking Cole Talley and Quinn Moretsky. So Bryson Jose is also signed today. So I just want to mention those kind of family, connections there. I mean, you had them, right? You had the Mackeys when you played, right? You had the Bentlers when you played, Steve. There was, the Giovanellis that I remember. There's some brother.
I got a
goes down
chance
the
to
line.
play with Jeremy and Jordan Trimble.
Of course.
Another duo, older, brothers. So yeah, I think it's one thing that, what's an interesting stat is the lineage of military service through family. So they, you always, I'll never pressure my sons or, my daughter to go to West Point. Like, it won't be, that's not the mentality, but it seems to be what continues. You got the Bulls family, lineage. People just continue to, it's powerful, and it's also, just like, Ted Bentler left the scholarship to come play with Fritz Bentler. Like, the older brother was already playing somewhere, and Fritz started playing at West Point, and they started talking, and Fritz was like, Ted, you need to come here. And he came here, and man, one of the best personalities I've ever met in my life is Ted Bentler. But yeah, it's definitely powerful.
We need to get the Bentler brothers on here, man.
I'll reach out to them. They're man, that was such a duo. It was being an underclassman for those two. Whew, man, that was intense to say the least. So, but yeah, no, it's get back on hand. It's not surprising to me anymore, where we see players, especially younger brothers, that have offers from bigger schools and can go do that stuff, and then they choose West Point because their brother's there. Because I think they have a little more perspective on what's at the end. And you saw a guy, not to go this far back, but you saw a guy like Pat Tillman, who was in the NFL, who decided to join because his brother joined. Right? You see it all the time. It's just kind of different when you're talking about West Point football, because you're talking about young adults, young men who are making, grown men decisions by coming to an academy when they could easily go have fun in at Miami or Florida and be a football player there.
Yeah, well, you talk about the lineage, right? I want to mention one more thing. I did a story on Wesley Shaw. Talked about him a little earlier, the offensive lineman at Florida Jesuit High School, and so he comes up on a visit to Army, and who's his host? Brett Jarina, his high school teammate, sophomore linebacker Brett Jarina, and Brett Jarina's dad Joe, was a quarterback at Army. So Wesley was telling me yesterday. I talked to him on the phone. He was telling me a little bit about, hey, Brett was showing me, the ups and downs of West Point. Not everything is, is gravy here, but it's going to be down the road. The reward is there, right? And so the thing is, he said that Brett answered. He didn't even have any questions because Brett answered them all, and even thought of questions that he would never even thought of for him. So that's when you talk about a guy whose dad went through it, right now he's going through it. Now he's a sophomore. He's in his second year. And Brett made some pretty good plays on defense. He was more of a third down guy for Army, got some playing time, brought a lot of energy to the Black Knights defense. Here he is, like you said, Steve, your sophomore year. He's a host here, and here he gets a high school teammate, helps a high school teammate along the recruiting, and gets Army gets a commitment from Wesley Shaw. And this guy, Wesley Shaw, when he was a sophomore, had offers from West Virginia. He was being recruited by Wake Forest. He was getting recruited by Duke. Tore his ACL his junior year, didn't play at all. And not even the Florida schools were keeping in contact with him up until his decision, because coaches change, staffs change, and here's Army being consistent with the kid. when he was rehabbing, being consistent with the kid, and there's the reward, and he's going to be a pretty good offensive lineman for Army, I think, down the road. So just a recruiting story, man. Like I said, I'm full of them, Steve.
Yeah, no,
I think
it's like it's the you don't even know what questions to ask. When nobody knows you. I remember going up to West Point and just being, I called my dad after, probably 2 hours of the visit, and I was like, "Oh, I'm coming here. This place is incredible." He's like, "All right, calm down. Like, you know nothing about the place. Like, just enjoy the trip, son." Because I went by myself. I didn't have no parents came, nothing.
Okay.
And he was like, "Just enjoy the trip, and we'll talk when you get back." And I was like, "Okay." And but I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know. I knew nothing. I don't have any. I didn't have any friends. I just didn't have it. I didn't have it. So it was nice to have upperclassmen that were willing to share the goods and the bads, mostly the goods. Back then, it was better just not to tell us the bads, I guess, because there wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just kind of the way it worked out. I think one guy. What?
I was gonna just comment. I don't know if you could read it. I'm not posting the comments, but Bay Knight is asking if you're wearing shoulder pads.
No, I don't wear shoulder pads in my free time. But I appreciate the comments. I did do shoulders yesterday, so they might just be a little swole. But no, it was nice to just have guys take you in right away. And then if you have a high school teammate, he's gonna let one, everything he's telling you is authentic. And two, like, it makes you a little more free to ask some questions where you may not ask that to, someone as like the tough recruit. I'm the tough linebacker from Maryland coming in like I'm gonna start over all of you, right? That was my mentality when I showed up. I was like, I'm gonna outwork everybody and everything like that. So it was good. I had a really good recruiting, leadership that took me around. So I remember that trip very well. Some good memories. Glad I did it. Took a chance. So it was great.
Do you remember who your host was, your player host was when you went, or no?
So back then I got like they put us in the hotel one night and then we stayed in the barracks one night. But it was like I stayed in a room with like it was a room full of Army football linebackers. Like that's what it was. So it was like 3 guys to a barracks room. I slept on the floor on a futon mattress, if I remember correctly. And but I don't know if I remember my actual host. I'm gonna actually throw that in the Army football chat. Like, hey guys, I'm sorry, I can't remember this. Who was my actual host back in the day? I'm trying to figure that out. But there was a lot of great, friends to this day that ended up leaving the academy. Were on that visit. It was just it was really good. I think there was, Seth Reed was on that visit. Actually, I think most guys actually ended up leaving. I don't know if you remember the guy named Andre Johnson. He was a really good linebacker for prep school. Left after his freshman year. And then we had a couple receivers that were real good. Still keep in touch with them. They left after prep school year. So it was I just remember it being a very cool experience. It's kind of like my first time going. I took a visit to Boston College and I took a visit to a couple other colleges. But that one was where I truly felt like these guys were, these guys were not necessarily brothers, right? I didn't truly learn about the brotherhood until actually going through it. But it was a little different feel. Like they generally seemed like they cared and were like cool with me being around and wanted me to be there. and not forced to like recruit this guy to this school and like we want this guy or whatever. So really cool experience. And I hope it sounds like, if we're I'm not going to use the word poaching, but if we're convincing guys to leave other academies to come here, and I don't know the stats on guys committed to Army that leave for Air Force, Navy, but it's just kind of it's good to hear, and those are the kind of guys we want. We got Coach Monken runs such a good program, and I was watching highlights earlier today in my free time of just like Coach Monk in the locker room, getting the boys fired up after a win and highlight tapes and stuff like that. Just kind of reliving like just Army football because, it's been, over a month since we had it. So I look forward to spring ball starting back up and, these guys showing us, this fall what they can bring to the table.
So real quick, I just got to talk a little bit more recruiting because now you had two guys, like I said, that jumped from Air Force to Army, and you had one guy that was a Navy commit. That Larry Pickett, he's a safety from North Carolina. He also changed his commitment from Navy to Army. Didn't really go into detail with him about it too much, but they also changed head coaches to Navy. So Navy had, you think Navy might have, they have a lot of the same staff there, but now with Brian Newberry taking over, who knows how recruiting is they're recruiting, how they're recruiting. So so Army got also a guy from Navy. Wanted to make a couple more things. I want to say, talking to Wesley Shaw for that story, he said that he's been to Power 5 schools, right? And Steve, you can attest to this probably. He's been to Power 5 schools, and that West Virginia, Virginia Tech. I think he went to Duke too. And Army's facilities rank right up there with the facilities of the West Virginias, with the Dukes, with the Virginia Techs, and he said that they were equivalent to him. And that he said that was a part of his decision too. Just you had the indoor facility, you have the 2 or 3 practice fields that are out there, you have the weight room, and you have a guy, Connor Hughes. He mentioned Connor Hughes, the strength and conditioning coach for the football strength and conditioning coaches, being a factor there too. You see the videos that Connor Hughes posts. You see Monken's videos when they went to lifting in the off season, and the camaraderie in the weight room. It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that from a recruit who had those Power 5 looks, to say that, hey, it's the same. It's the same, and it's equivalent. And
I think a very powerful thing is, and this was something I learned later on, and I truly believe it, that I don't know if I would have reached my football potential at a different school, because much like now. There's a lot of distractions in life, right? I got a family now. I got a job now. I still work out. I still take fitness very seriously. But at no point in my life, more so than at West Point, did I live for working out. I mean, I'm talking like free, it didn't matter, weekend. I mean, I'm talking 7 days a week. I followed the strength training program, and between Coach Swanson and we had Coach Gabe there at the time, like they allowed me to find things that I could do as active recovery, lifts, script work, whatever. The Army football weight room may not be the most gigantic weight room, but it's nice. It's a nice weight room, and the indoor facility. I mean, to have an indoor. It's so clutch in New York. Yeah. Like, it's so clutch. Like, I get it. Some days we got to play outside to, like, just feel the cold. Wow. But, man, to be inside is just glorious. No snow, not getting tackled on the snow, all that stuff. And then you have the actual Kinsey Center, the rooms, right? The film rooms. The auditorium, the meeting rooms, all that stuff. It's huge. And I guarantee, that place is never locked for the football players. It's never locked. Yeah. It's never locked. I remember when they gave me the keys to the building, man. I'll never forget that. I was like I think I was like going in. I was still a sophomore when I got named captain. They gave me the code to the building. I could go in any top. Man, I couldn't sleep some nights. I go up there, go get after it. Didn't matter. It was awesome.
Wow. Well, what do you yeah, the run up that way, right?
I didn't like throw any parties or anything in there. I just literally went up there to work out.
No, no. Absolutely, absolutely. I get you. I get you. Yeah. So that is hey, that weight room is an attraction for some recruits, and yeah, yeah, I've seen like pro days in the weight room. I've never been in a weight room for a team workout or anything like that, but I've seen pro days in the weight room, and yeah, it's legit, and coaching is legit too by Connor Hughes and his staff. So yeah, one more thing on recruiting. I want to say 106 guys, right, Steve, that I have counted so far. What do you think is the state with the most commits? What would your guess be the state with the most commits?
Oh no, I feel like I'm cheating here, Sal. I think I saw something you might have posted about this, but is it
Uh,
Pennsylvania?
it is. You're
Yeah,
correct. You're correct.
yeah.
14.
Yeah, I cheated. I'm sorry. I saw. Well, I don't know. I didn't see 14. I saw maybe an earlier post before you tallied it up, but that makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, Pennsylvania is a giant. It's a giant state. Lots of good football players. I mean, being from Maryland, we used to have the Big 33 game where the best 33 players from Maryland played the best 33 from Pennsylvania. They got rid of it my senior year. So my senior year, they selected players for it and then they canceled the game. I guess nobody wanted to do it anymore, or they couldn't agree to terms, I guess you could say. But yeah, my older brother played in the Big 33 game in Maryland versus Pennsylvania. So that's good. No, I'm sure it's Pennsylvania. Ohio usually has a good turnout. Texas has a good turnout. Those are, I mean, giant states. So yeah.
Yep. I'll give you the top 5 here that I have according to my tallies. It's unofficial. 14 for Pennsylvania, 13 for Georgia, 12 for Florida, 8 for Ohio, 7 for Texas seems like a small number to me. Usually they're in double digits in normal classes for Army. We'll see what happens. But sometimes they add guys after the signing day anyway, so we don't know. Subtract
Yeah, I
that. You
mean,
don't know.
there is
There
not
might be medicals.
Sal, not a doubt in my mind that number can climb to 130. Not a doubt
Oh
in my
man.
mind. I mean,
Wow.
I was at. I
Wow.
mean, I think I signed March 12th, man. Like
Yeah.
I committed to Army like March 12th or something. I still have like the signing, like everything signed, the
Oh wow.
letter of intent or whatever. I gotta find it. It's in like, a bunch of boxes that probably have dust all over it. But yeah, I remember it. I remember it being like March 12th or 13th or something like that.
Yeah, there's going to be because I think there's probably going to be some recruits visiting the next couple of weeks too, because some of them, even though
Yep.
they're committed and they're quote signed, they still haven't visited West Point yet. So, one more stat: 31 out of the 106 commits, they're from 31 different states. That's
Love it.
that's nationwide recruiting there. 31 different states. There's a kid from South Dakota. Steve, have you ever played with a kid from South Dakota when you in your 4 years in Army?
I don't think so. I mean,
That I
Seth
think
Neiman's
I
the only
can't
one I
find.
even. I think Seth Neiman's the only one I know from that area, and he was North Dakota.
Oh yeah, good point. I knew there was somebody around there. Yeah, but
Yeah,
South
but not.
Dakota,
I
I,
mean,
I
hey, South Dakota State just won the FCS championship. They got some players out there. They recruit well.
yeah.
So the no, I mean, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the 31 states. It's just you always look at this, the organization, but like, the Army is full of 50 states, and you have, I just served with, and he just became an officer through OCS, but he was an interpreter for the for Afghanistan Army for the U.S. Army. He was our interpreter for 10 years in Afghanistan. Finally got over to the U.S. Enlisted immediately to show his thanks, and then now went through OCS, and now he's an officer in the United States Army after his 15-year journey of like, all that stuff. Those are the people you serve. Those are the kind of people you serve with. And you'll serve with people from all over the world. And that's just a great, I don't know, I would love to see that stat, Sal. Number of states of commits, line up against the rest of the teams, because it's diversity's power, man. It is an ultimate team building challenge to get that many different perspectives and that many different ways of seeing the world all into one mission and one goal. But when you do, it's super powerful, getting all those different thinking people, having the diversity of just, of all over the country. It's one of our strongest strongest, things that we have as a country. And it's one of the strongest things we have as an organization within the U.S. Army and at West Point. So I'm super excited to hear that stat. Super excited for, spring ball to start up here soon. And I just, look forward to seeing this new offense play out, because I know there's a lot of people that are kind of like, shotgun? I mean, where are we going here? I mean, we talked about literally just pounding people's, faces in last year and getting our identity back when we were throwing the ball around last year. And, but, not to be blasphemous or anything, but in Monken we trust, right, Sal? So, he's not going to lead us astray. So I look forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
I was talking to somebody that has a little bit of insight, and they were saying that maybe your pass attempts might double. It's not like they're going to wing the ball around 30 to 40 times a game. The pass attempts might go from, if you pass 6 times, you might go 12. If you pass 10, you might 20. It all depends on what the defense is giving you, I think, and that's going to be good.
I truly, and people make fun of, they don't make fun of me, but they're like, they always ask me, Steve, like, so you're an Army football plan and you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. Like both those teams run the ball like 90% of the time, and they play great defense. Like they're almost the exact same team, personality style wise. And that's what when I saw the hire and I was looking at the offense, I'm looking at an athletic quarterback that can make the read pass option. Jalen Hurts is going to put on a clinic against the Kansas City Chiefs and win the Super Bowl this year by doing just that RPO, when to run, when to throw the slant, making that quick. That's how I envision this playing out, having an athletic quarterback that can make the right decisions quickly and running an RPO. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he runs shotgun, and they, Ravens run the ball, 50 times a game with 2 great backs. They do have a 306-pound fullback in Ricard, but they are it's just funny because, I feel like my personality fits these teams' personalities, right? Like I get to enjoy watching, my personality play out on the football field with my 2 favorite teams. So it's kind of funny.
We'll see how it shakes out. And we're always you had 3 senior quarterbacks, right? And last year, now you have Bryson Daly's the heir apparent. Let's see how he can run this. I think that I was thinking, I don't know, I work a lot, Steve. I have a lot of time, while I'm working sometimes. And I'm thinking last year, a guy by the name of Alex Meredith came back to the team. He was a highly recruited quarterback. He was a prep school quarterback, and when he went to West Point, he said, I want to do the military side of it and the academic side. Didn't play football. Came back out for the team last year and was on the team last year, right? At the end of the season, I saw Alex Meredith in an 80s number, like a wide receiver's number. But maybe this offense is more for Alex Meredith because he was having a little bit of not a little bit of difficulty, but picking back up an option offense after you haven't been doing not much football for the first 2 years at West Point can be challenging, right? So maybe this offense, which is going to be fresh for a lot of people, maybe an Alex Meredith might get back into the quarterback competition. He would be either a junior or a senior.
I wouldn't be surprised if we immediately went out and got our freshman quarterback that's going to learn this offense and start 4 years for us. All right.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah.
You know, I just, it's a new offense. You bring in your guy, the guy you think runs it the best. It's kind of you don't think of college football as the business side of things, but you either have a guy that you've already kind of pinned as like the guy that can run this offense, right? So like Coach Monken makes this hire because he's got a quarterback that can run this offense and he's confident that we can win now with it, or they've got a guy on the radar that when they got him or when he committed, this is their guy, or they got a guy at prep, or they're going to figure it out
Yeah.
in 2 months. You know what I mean, Sal? So it just there's a couple options here. Again, just very excited, and it's going to be, and there's going to be a lot of Army fans watching this first game with a lot of scrutiny if it doesn't go well, and you just hope that everything plays out and we're good. I'm just going to be excited to get Army football back. It's part of it's. I enjoy it so much that I miss it when it's gone. So look forward to it.
Couple more things before we go. One, I want to talk about Andre Carter at the Senior Bowl, right? So I don't know. I'm finding myself doing some Twitter searches with just Andre Carter, right? And when you do that, you see like these video clips that people that are there in Mobile that are taken of Andre Carter, and you see like sometimes Andre Carter getting the edge rush and getting to the quarterback, and sometimes you see him going one on one with a guy who's highly recruited. I think they're highly thought of. I think there was a South Dakota State lineman that won the battle, so to speak, the one-on-one battle. Regardless, Andre's getting a lot of eyes on him this week, right? This is a big week for him. Yeah, to show what he can do with against some other top players that are going to be in the draft. I thought I saw the Senior Bowl, the Reese's Senior Bowl. A lot of the guys are like kind of second day guys. There's not many guys that are first round blue chippers at this, at the Senior Bowl. And Andre Carter at the beginning of the year, Mel Kiper had him in his first round. Had him in his first round, and he still has him pretty high. I think like maybe in the 30s, possibly somewhere around there. What do you think about that? I mean, just what he can get out of this week and playing the game over the weekend and that experience for him.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of the changing culture where it used to be a privilege to be invited to the the East-West Triangle game or the Senior Bowl and stuff like that. But now it's young men are making business decisions on how much cost benefit of getting hurt in this game. What is it going to cost me? And sure. I think it says a lot about Andre Carter, right? It says a lot about the guys that are actually still doing it. Love to play the game, and yeah, you hate to say it, it can this week could promote him back up to first round, and it could potentially drop him to fourth round, fifth round. It's kind of weird how, if you're not pegged as like, a need, right, for a team, you can drop very quickly, especially if you don't fit their mold. So wish him the best of luck. We got that. We got 2 Army football players in the Super Bowl coming up. So it's a lot of fun to be an Army football player and an Army football fan over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, you know what? I find myself rooting for the Chiefs a little bit toward the end of that game, right? Wanting the Chiefs to win because then you have, the Cole Christensen, who's been a practice squad player on the Chiefs. He's played in one game this year against the Bills. He's been on the active roster for a game. You have him representing Army, and then you have Brett Toth, who's been coming back from a knee injury. He hasn't seen any action yet, but he's still around the team. He's still at the games. He's still in the locker room with the team, and you have Army versus Army, and you're going to have an Army football player, former Army football player, come out of the Super Bowl with a ring next Sunday. I think that's amazing to me. I wrote it. I think that's amazing.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the stats here. I don't know how many Army football players have won as a player.
None. I don't think any. You had Mike Sullivan as the Giants' right quarterbacks coach, and you had Tony Coxum as the Broncos' special teams coach. Those are the only two I know kind of within the last, like, what we know, 20 years or so. Was there somebody
Right,
back when the first Super Bowl 1 through 15, 20? I don't
right,
know,
right.
maybe.
Yeah, look at that.
But I
Yeah,
don't think so, man. I mean, because yeah, Glenn Davis might have won like an NFL championship, but was he didn't? There was no that was not the Super Bowl era in the
right,
late
right.
40s, early 50s. So I mean, man, because Ali never had the chance, right? He never had the chance to play in the Super Bowl, or did he play? He didn't play in the
No,
Super Bowl, did
he
he?
never. No, he never made it.
Man, so good for and even when the Seahawks were in the first round, right? And John Radigan's running down there covering kicks and covering punts. I was watching every punt. I was watching every kick, Steve,
Yeah,
just to see if he was going to make plays. It's so great to see, and you see Elijah Riley with the Steelers getting a shot with the Steelers and getting some playing time here and there. And now Andre Carter's going to have his chance. He's gonna get drafted. He's gonna be the first draft pick since Caleb Campbell. That's gonna happen. We just don't know when it's gonna happen. From Ross Tucker was on here, during the season, thinking he's like a second day guy. So what? Second day, second, third round guy. Some people think he's a first round guy. Some people like the guys that are down there saying, "Wait, this guy's a project." Uh, you watch Andre Carter play. Watch the tape doesn't really lie. Watch him go against when he went up against Wisconsin. Watch him go up against Wake Forest. He makes plays against power. He made plays against Power Five teams. He has the ability. I think
and
he's kind of still
and I
raw a little
think
bit.
yeah, he is raw and he's versatile. And what do you want to do with him? Do you want to make him a 3 tech or a 4 tech or a 3 tech, or you want to make him he's 6'7"? You want to make him 275? Make him 275. Like he's got a frame to
Yeah.
be very versatile. So it'll be interesting. I look forward to watching him play this in this next week.
Yeah, Bay Knight's saying McConkey from Navy. We're just talking Army football here, Bay. We're not talking Navy tonight. We're not doing any of that stuff. So we know
Nobody
we know that.
cares.
So yeah, we know that. So man, good to be back, Steve. Good we just kind of firing,
Yeah.
recruiting stuff, firing, some anything else you got on your mind about Army football that we want to get off your chest before we get out
No,
of here?
just look forward. Nope, just looking forward to it. The spring ball starting and to watch, my brothers get after it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of probably usually starts after spring, after they have spring break. So probably later in March. So it's not too far away
Yep.
if you think about it. It's about
Yeah,
five,
it'll be
6 weeks
right
probably away.
around the corner.
Yeah, and so we'll
Yeah.
be watch out. I'll have some more recruiting news. I'm gonna do a couple more stories on the signing day. Get around to it. Check out our stories. Like I said, on Wesley Shaw, out of Florida lineman. Check out our story on Kasan Hooks, who changed his mind, went from Air Force to Army. Guys, check out our Black Knight Nation YouTube channel if you're watching right now. Give us a subscribe. We're over 600 subscribers. We really like to make that push toward 1,000. Really like to do that. Our Instagram is hot right now. Our Black Knight Nation Twitter's hot, and check out blackknightnation.com for like recruiting news. We're gonna do a little bit more sports. We're gonna do some lacrosse coverage. Hopefully, we're gonna do some basketball coverage sooner than later. I was at the Army Navy basketball game, Steve, for the first time a couple weeks back, and that was pretty good experience there. Didn't go right for the
Yeah, it's
men,
fun.
but the women's yeah, women's game. The whole football team's there too, right? And Jeff Monken's there
Yeah.
rallying the crowd, like saying with the beat navies, of course, and stuff. And he's firing, the gun that shoots the shirts. He's firing the gun that
Yeah.
shoots the shirts into the crowd too. So I mean, it was all good. Yeah, the men have another chance to play Navy. I think pretty soon and get a little redemption from the game, but. I was good. Army Navy's Army Navy in any sport, right? It's pretty hot, competitive, and I'm hoping I would love to catch an Army Navy wrestling match. I don't think I'm going to get to that coming up soon this month, but you know that was great too. Really appreciate you guys watching us. I just rambled on there. Late night podcasting, Steve. All this energy I got from the sugar from the iced tea. But thanks for watching us. Great, great catching up, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, go Army.